Today we're going to be covering the 2022-2023 playoff picture, which starts in about 3 hours. So first, we're going to talk about the Chargers-Jaguars game. I think this game is the biggest pick'em game of the weekend. I can see both teams winning this game, and the Chargers missing Mike Williams is a big loss for them. With that being said, I do think the Chargers will come out on top by a small margin. I'm thinking between 3 to 6 points coming down to the fourth quarter. I think them having Justin Herbert is a big advantage for them. And the Jaguars, what I saw last week, I think they could even outplay the Chargers in a sense. But those key mistakes I see them making down the stretch is what I think it's going to cause them to lose today. Next, we got the Bengals and Ravens. I think this game should easily be the Bengals winning. With that being said, though, John Harbaugh is a great coach, and I can see him devising up a game plan to shut down Joe Burrow, as we've seen in weeks past. And they love to play zone on them, on the Bengals, and that gives Joe Burrow a lot of problems. So if you tell me tomorrow or on Monday that the Bengals ended up losing to the Ravens, I would be, yeah, that's John Harbaugh right there. He's a great coach, and great coaches in the playoffs will go a long ways. Next game, I think, is the biggest lopsided game of the weekend. I think the Bills destroy the Dolphins. I feel bad for the Dolphins. Third string quarterback, and just down the stretch, they couldn't win these games. They were 8-3 at one point, and they finished the season losing, I can't even remember, 5 to 6 games and barely squeaked out a win versus the Jets. And in all honesty, they shouldn't be the ones in the playoffs. It just happened to be that the Patriots were playing the Bills, and I think the Steelers would give the Bills a better matchup this week. Next, we got a great game on Monday night. We got the Bucks and Cowboys. This game also is a great pick'em game. I can see it going either way. I think the Bucks being at home, Tom Brady in the playoffs, and the Cowboys have a history in the playoffs, so just coming up short. And I could see it, Tom Brady coming down, game-winning drive, kicking a game-winning field goal. I gotta go with the Bucks in this one. Vikings and Giants. I think this game has all the entire recipe to be a close game. The Vikings love playing in close games. They're 11-0 in close games this year. We saw them play a few weeks back on on Christmas Eve, and that was another great game. I think the Vikings do come out on top in this one. I think it is close, but I had to see Kirk Cousins proving people wrong, saying he can't win in clutch time. I think he'll get it done this week, though. The first game of the day today on Saturday, we got the Niners Seahawks. I heard this game is going to have a lot of weather implications, and it's going to be raining really hard there, which I think benefits the Seahawks. When there's bad weather, it evens out the games, and the worst team gets that advantage. The Niners might be more prone to mistakes. It's Brock Purdy's first playoff game. We don't know how he's going to react to that. He's had a great 10-week stretch, but he hasn't really faced that adversity of playing a good team yet. And I don't know if the Seahawks are that good team, but in the playoffs, it is a different game. With all that being said, I do think the Niners do come out on top. So we got a great divisional round right here. And let's start with the best game, in my opinion. Bengals-Bills, rematch of the postponed game. There's going to be a lot of high emotions going into this game with all what happened last time. And the Bills are going to come out firing. I do think the Bengals got the short end of the stick by not being able to have this game on a neutral site, when if they would have beat the Bills in that Monday night game, they would have been the home team. With that being said, I think what I saw last year from the Bengals and them just in the playoffs, being able to finish out in those clutch moments and going on to beat the Chiefs after the Bills lost to them in the divisional round last year, I think the Bengals do squeak this one out, and I think Joe Burrow leads them on a game-winning drive at the end of the game, similar to how the Bills went out last year in the playoffs. We got a division matchup right here. The Chiefs have owned the Chargers for years now, and I think the Chargers beat them last season in about week 1, week 2, and that was a fluke game in my opinion. I'm a big Justin Herbert guy, but Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs is just a different animal, and it's hard to bet against him when it comes to the playoffs, especially at home. Next, we got Bucks and Eagles. crazy enough, is a rematch of last year in the playoffs when Jalen Hurts got blown out in Tampa Bay. I think this one will be a lot closer than people anticipate. I think Tom Brady in the playoffs is a really good quarterback, arguably the best of all time. And the Eagles, same with what I said with Brock Purdy. Jalen Hurts has not proven it to me yet in the playoffs, and I've seen weaknesses in their team. Being a Saints fan, watching them in Eagles versus the Saints, I know it was Gardner Minshew at quarterback, but just the way that offense was looking and that defense was not what I expected it to be. The Saints' offense this year was terrible, but the Eagles cannot stop the rush. And I think the Bucs know that and will lean on Rachaad White, Leonard Fournette, go up into Philadelphia and shock them. Next, you got Vikings-Niners. I think this game the Vikings will only win this game if it's a close one. They will not blow out the 49ers. But if you told me the Niners blew out the Vikings, I would not be surprised at all. The Vikings either win a 3-point game or lose by 21, as we saw against the Cowboys and we saw against the Eagles earlier this year. I think this game, the Vikings coming to California, will be a close game. And I think this game is a lot closer than people might think. The Vikings are frauds and they don't deserve to be the 3 seed and they're not as good as their record shows. I don't believe that. I think Kirk Cousins is better than what people make him out to be, especially in the clutch. With that being said, I do think the Niners will squeak out a win versus the Vikings. Now we have some great conference championship games with one shocker team, which is the Buccaneers. Let's start with the AFC. We have Bengals-Chiefs rematch of last year's AFC Championship. Last year in the 2022 calendar year, the Bengals beat the Chiefs 3 times. Beat them once this current season. It'll be in Kansas City. Bengals went there last year in the AFC Championship. I do think this game will be really close. But as I was talking about with the Chiefs and Chargers, some teams just really own other teams, and it's evident. And I think Joe Burrow has Patrick Mahomes' number, and Joe Burrow has shown that he can make those clutch passes. That defense can step up. We just saw last year in the AFC Championship game, the Chiefs won the toss. Many people forget that. And on the first drive, Mahomes threw an interception, which it's going to be a close one. And I can see this game definitely going either way. But I'm going to give the edge to the Bengals since they really do have the Chiefs' number, it seems like. Next one, many people didn't expect the Bucs to make it this far. And they're playing the Niners, which have been on a roll. If this stands true, the Niners will have won 12 straight games. Brock Purdy will have shocked the world in my eyes. So you got the Bucs coming back to California, back to San Francisco, where they've lost about a month or so ago, and it wasn't a close one. But what this reminds me of as a Saints fan was when Tom Brady, in Drew Brees' last season, 2-3 years ago, the Bucs got swept. And I remember one Sunday night game where the Bucs got absolutely blown out by the Saints. I remember they scored being about 38-3. Wasn't close at all. You had C.J. Gardner-Johnson getting in Brady's head. Brady's infamous tablet break right there. But then when they played him in the playoffs, yeah, I know Jared Cook sold the game for us, but that's neither here or there. But Tom Brady's a different player in the playoffs. That defense, I think, is a lot better than what they showed against the Niners that first time. And that run defense, I think, will play a lot better than it did the first time. And even if they can get a little healthier in the secondary, I think the Bucs could give the Niners a run for their money. And I think they go to San Francisco and shock the world. So, wow, we have no 1 or 2 seeds in the Super Bowl. That would definitely shock a lot of people. Bengals, Bucs, Super Bowl. Again, This entire playoffs is just a playoffs of rematches, it seems like. This is a rematch of a month or so ago when the Bengals went to Tampa Bay and beat them convincingly, but the Buccaneers did shoot themselves in the foot a bunch of times. The Bucs owned the first half, and the Bengals came and exploded in the second half with the Buccaneers having 2 to 3 fumbles on back-to-back drives. It was just terrible offense and terrible just execution by the Bucks in that second half. With that being said, you got an kind of experienced quarterback in Joe Burrow making his second Super Bowl appearance in back-to-back years. You got Brady, the most experienced quarterback in the Super Bowl, best playoff quarterback in NFL history. I think the Bengals, this is just their year for revenge. They saw what happened last year, coming up short against the Rams. When I personally think that the Bengals were the better team, I think that offense got shut down last year by that Rams defensive line. Aaron Donald was able to cause havoc all game. I don't think the Bucks have that type of defense to slow down Joe Burrow. And I think Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd will all eat on that Buccaneers secondary like we saw in that first game. And I think a sneaky player in this Super Bowl right here will be Samaje Perine out the backfield. I think he'll score 1 to 2 touchdowns in this game. He'll be very good in this game. I remember in the AFC Championship game last year against the Chiefs, Samaje Perine had that screenplay where it changed the entire flow of the game, and I can see him making some type of plays in the Super Bowl this year in Vegas to change the total outcome of the game. And I think Joe Burrow goes on to win Super Bowl MVP, and the Bengals end up as Super Bowl champions. Yeah, and that's my 2022-2023 playoff picture, how I see it unfolding this year. I'm excited to watch it today. You got the Niners Seahawks today, and you also got the Chargers Jags. 2 great games to start off the playoffs. This entire wildcard weekend is going to be amazing to watch. You got a bunch of good games, and I'm excited to see how these playoffs unfold. And if you guys would like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned. I'll be dropping another Saints Insider video in the upcoming days on who the Saints draft in the upcoming draft and potentially getting future picks for Sean Payton.